What is the true power of a story? Is it to teach? To entertain? Or is it something older, something that taps the very vein of reality? In the village of Izwi Lendalo, the voice of the story, they knew. Their Griot didn't just tell tales. He weathered them. But every story has two sides, the teller and the listener. And when a story changes the world, who pays the price for the edit? Old Mthunzi was the last true weathering Griot. He didn't just recount history, he could, with the right story told the right way, influence the very climate. A tale of patience and cool streams could bring a merciful breeze to a sweltering day. A legend of the gentle rains of compassion could coax showers from a stubborn sky. His power was a gentle, careful art, used sparingly, for the village's survival. It was a sacred bond between word and world. His apprentice, Sibusiso, had the voice of a god and the patience of a gnat. He watched Mthunzi bring relief with a story and saw not duty, but untapped potential. He hungered for the power, not to soothe, but to command. He wanted his name to be the story. Mthunzi warned him. The stories are not ours, Sibusiso. They are living things that sleep in the wind, in the rocks. We can ask them to stir, politely. We cannot order them to dance. To force a story is to break its spine. And a broken story bleeds chaos. Sibusiso nodded, but his heart was a furnace of ambition. He sought the source of the power. He bribed, he eavesdropped, he followed Mthunzi on his spirit walks. He discovered the old man's secret, the narrative well, a cave behind a waterfall where the first stories of the world were said to have pooled. There, Mthunzi would not speak, but listen, letting the old tales rewrite themselves in his soul before gently sharing them. Sibusiso went to the well alone. He didn't listen. He spoke. He shouted his own desires into the echoing dark. And the well, confused by this arrogant new voice, answered. It gave him not a story, but a word. A single, grinding, ancient syllable that tasted of earthquake and thunder. The root verb for storm. Sibusiso returned, the word burning in his throat like a hot coal. He tested it during a minor drought. Standing before the worried villagers, he told not a story, but made a declaration. A demand. He spoke the root verb. The sky didn't just cloud over. It conspired. Clouds boiled up in minutes, not with gentle rain, but with a violent, drenching downpour that flooded the newly planted fields and washed away topsoil. The village was saved from drought, but at a new cost. Sibusiso was hailed as a powerful new Griot. Mthunzi looked on, heartbroken. Emboldened, Sibusiso began to perform. He told thrilling, violent tales of clashing giants, and hailstones would pelt the hills. He whispered romantic stories, and unseasonal, fragrant fogs would roll in. He was a celebrity. But the weather became as dramatic and unstable as his narratives. Sunshine could turn to freak lightning storms in the space of a parable. The first true victim was the farmer, Nalwazi, a practical woman who questioned Sibusiso's showmanship. During a tale of a treacherous wind, a sudden microtornado ripped through only her farm, destroying her barn. It felt personal. Then, Sibusiso's own body began to change. His shadow no longer matched his movements. It would lag, or gesture wildly during a tense part of a story, as if it were the real performer. His voice would sometimes echo with other, older voices. The discarded characters and unfinished plots from the narrative well. He was becoming a conduit, not a storyteller. Mthunzi confronted him. You are not weaving weather, boy. You are puncturing reality and letting the raw stuff of unfinished tales leak out. Your shadow is a story you haven't told yet. Your voice holds ghosts of plots. Stop before you become a folktale yourself, a cautionary one. Sibusiso, drunk on power and applause, laughed. Your stories are whispers, old man. Mine are commands. To prove his point, he did the forbidden. He told a story not from the well, but from his own envy. A story about a silent grove, a place where an old, stubborn tree absorbed all sound until the world around it withered from quiet. He told it directly at Mthunzi. As Sibusiso spoke the tale, Mthunzi didn't collapse. The area around him did. A sphere of absolute, vacuum-like silence descended on the old Griot. No sound could enter or leave. Birds fell from the sky outside the sphere, disoriented. People's shouts were swallowed. Mthunzi was trapped in a story cell of his apprentice's making, cut off from the world of sound, from the very medium of his art. Horrified by what he'd done but addicted to the proof of his power, Sibusiso fled to the narrative well. He needed a bigger story, a grand finale to cement his legend and perhaps, in his twisted logic, to fix what he'd broken. At the well, he didn't ask. He demanded the greatest story. The first tale. The story that sang the world into being. The well resisted. The cave trembled. But Sibusiso screamed the root verb, and the ancient forces, agitated and insulted, responded. They didn't give him the first tale. They showed him the backside of the story. The negative space. The anti-narrative. It flooded into him. It wasn't a tale of creation, but of unraveling. A story of silence before the word, of the void that hungers for form. He returned to the village, his eyes now holding a swirling, starless dark. He gathered the people, who were now terrified of the capricious, story-bent weather and the silent tomb around Mthunzi. I will fix everything. Sibusiso proclaimed, his voice now a chorus of 1,000 rustling, alien pages. I will tell the story to end all weather. A story of perfect, eternal balance. He began to speak the anti-narrative. He did not describe sun or rain. He described the absence of weather. A static, unchanging, neutral state. The great calm. As he spoke, the world began to still. The wind died mid-gust. Clouds froze in place like cotton stuck in glass. The temperature flattened, becoming neither warm nor cool. It was a profound, unnatural stagnation. The vibrant, chaotic weather he'd created was being erased, but so was all natural climate. The world was being storyboarded into a dead, permanent snapshot. But the anti-narrative was hungry. It wasn't content to stop the weather. It began to stop process. The river's flow slowed to a syrup, then halted. The leaves on the trees didn't fall, they just hung, neither green nor brown. The villagers felt their own thoughts slowing, their heartbeats settling into a monotonous, unenthusiastic rhythm. Life itself was being narrated into a standstill. Trapped in his sphere of silence, Mthunzi watched the world freeze. He couldn't hear the story, but he could see its effect. And in that perfect silence, he understood. Sibusiso wasn't using stories anymore. He was being used by one. A story that hated all other stories. A narrative parasite. Mthunzi had one weapon left. His own story. But he was cut off from sound. He couldn't speak it. So, he did something only a true weathering Griot could do. He began to tell the story with his hands, his face, his breath. He mimed the oldest story he knew. The story of the first listener, the being who heard the first tale and, instead of repeating it, chose to feel it, to let it change him, to give it meaning through silent understanding. He poured every ounce of his life, his regret, his love for the village and even for his lost apprentice, into this silent performance. The sphere of silence, designed to block sound, began to resonate with the vibration of pure, unintended meaning. It started to glow. It became not a prison, but a lens, focusing Mthunzi's silent story out into the frozen world. The frozen villagers saw Mthunzi's glowing, silent performance. They couldn't hear it, but they felt it. In their slowed hearts, a memory of feeling stirred. A tear, slow as cold honey, traced down a cheek. A finger twitched with remembered effort. This tiny, collective spark of human emotion, of empathy for their old griot, was a paradox in the anti-narrative. The story of perfect stillness could not account for feeling. It stuttered. In that stutter, Sibusiso, who had been a hollow vessel for the void, felt a rush of the very things the anti-narrative was erasing: regret, shame, love for his mentor. It was agony. It was like being reassembled after being turned to dust. He screamed, and the sound broke the last of the narrative hold. The root verb shattered in his throat. The backlash was catastrophic. All the chaotic, half-told weather stories Sibusiso had ever forced into the world, all the trapped emotional energy, erupted at once. The frozen scene exploded into a cacophony of mismatched climates. Hail fell in one yard while sun blazed in the next. A localized blizzard raged around the chief's hut while a tropical humidity soaked the marketplace. It was a schizophrenic climate, a physical manifestation of a broken story. And Sibusiso, he was at the epicenter. The stories didn't just leave him. They took parts of him as souvenirs. His shadow tore itself from the ground and vanished into a rogue gust of wind. The echo in his voice ripped free, becoming a perpetual whisper in the new, unpredictable breezes. His talent for mimicry was stolen, leaving his own voice flat and toneless. He was left hollowed out, a man-sized void where a griot used to be. The sphere around Mthunzi dissolved. The old man, exhausted, fell to his knees, his ears ringing in the sudden return of chaotic sound. The village of Izwi Lendalo survived, but it was forever changed. They now live in the patchwork sky. Weather is hyperlocal and unpredictable, a permanent reminder of a story that broke. You must always carry both an umbrella and sun hat. Mthunzi recovered, but his voice was gone, spent in that final, silent performance. He communicates only through writing and gentle gestures. He is now the keeper of the warning. Sibusiso is neither hated nor pitied. He is a living lesson. He wanders the village, his flat voice unable to tell even the simplest tale. Children are brought to him not to hear stories, but to see what happens when you try to steal the weather. He is the empty griot. But the narrative well is not sealed. It is agitated. And the anti-narrative, though defeated, was not destroyed. It was simply untold. It exists now as a potentiality, a static charge in the air of the patchwork sky. Some fear that on a day when all the chaotic weather patterns align into a moment of perfect, unnatural calm, the story might find another throat. A quieter one. A more patient one. And in the howling, mismatched winds, people sometimes hear a familiar, mocking whisper, the echo of Sibusiso's stolen voice, telling a fractured, never-ending version of his own tragic tale. Sibusiso sought to be the author of reality and became a torn page. He learned that a story is a contract between teller and listener, and when you break the terms, you become the collateral. The village learned that some powers are ecosystems, not tools, and breaking them poisons the world for everyone. So, what do you think? Was Sibusiso a villain corrupted by power, or a tragic victim of an ambition that the ancient stories themselves punished? Can a story ever be truly controlled, or does it always control the teller in the end? Let me know in the comments below. The anti-narrative is untold, not gone. The well is restless. And in the patchwork sky, all stories, but be wiser than the teller.